All right, we're gonna start. Can I have a motion, please?
Second to open.
Open session.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Ayes have it, motion is carried. There are no public appearances today. Can I have a motion for consent agenda?
I move approval of the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Hey, Lorene,
Yes.
can you ask people to use their mics? Otherwise, I can't hear them.
Will do.
Thank you, everybody.
Get a second, and
Now you're
move
learning
to
all
vote.
this.
Rochelle,
Aye.
Susan,
Aye.
Elizabeth,
Hi.
Philip,
Aye.
Eric,
Aye.
Peter,
Aye.
Green, aye. Ayes have it, motion is carried. Moving on to recognitions.
Okay, I'd like to start by congratulating three of our teachers who are retiring that were approved tonight in the consent agenda. We had two tonight, and we actually had one at the previous meeting that we forgot to recognize. So Greg Gehrig, high school math teacher, will be retiring at the end of this year, as well as Jess Kasperick, middle school band director, and Leah Spey, high school French teacher. So we certainly appreciate and the work they've done and wish them the best and congratulations in their upcoming retirements. Okay, we also have a lot to celebrate in the month of March. March is Women's History Month, and students will have the opportunity to learn about the achievements and contributions of women. We also celebrated International Women's Day, where we recognized all of the hardworking women in our district. Additionally, we celebrated Maintenance Workers Appreciation Day and School Social Work Week. Both groups of people are vital to the success of our district and students. Congratulations to three Monona Grove High School students who qualify for the HOSA state competition. These three students are working to spread knowledge and understanding of Alzheimer's and preventative strategies that young people can implement in their daily lives. They've done this through the use of social media, flyers, and participating in community service events. Learn more about their work online. March is Music in Our Schools Month, and there have been many concerts and showcasing the musicality of our students have. Thank you to our families and community who have attended these concerts, and a special thanks and appreciation to our music educators who have supported our students in their music journeys. Project Unify, a GDS club, and their members spent the recent Inclusion Week signing a pledge to be more inclusive to people of all abilities and created various colorful murals that are on display at Glacial Drumlin School with messages like, "You belong here," "Be kind," and "Peace out bullying." It's so great to see our students spreading positive messages toward an inclusive environment for all. And congratulations to the DECA participants who qualify for the national competition for their various business and marketing projects. 10 students total qualify and will head to nationals in Anaheim, California in April. We wish them the best of luck.
Great, thank you. No correspondence and announcements. Next are administrative reports. Our superintendent report, Dan.
Okay, tonight I just want to give a brief update on our staffing plan. We went through this in the last month's meeting, and since then, the high school has completed their analysis of the course requests for students and so on. So we do have a couple additions strictly to maintain our class size. So an additional math teacher at the high school, half-time social studies, and a second grade section at Cottage Grove School. So I gave to you the updated staffing plan as well as updated enrollment planning. And just as a reminder, we have our board policy that gives guidelines for class sizes, but then we also have a target number for every one of those classes. The And with that, preferred size, that's always been our goal, is to staff at that size. And the Cottage Grove School was, second grade was kind of a tough one, where we're right on the edge. We expect that we will have some new students enroll over the summer. We've already, just this week, had a couple new students register for next school year. And so we were starting to creep up on the high side, and we really felt that we needed to add that 9th section. And so with that, of course, anytime you add a homeroom section, that impacts a number of things. The number of sections of your music, art, Phi-Ed. But in working with, Principal Starr, we've determined that we can, with the current staffing, be able to handle those. So it became kind of an easier decision to make, that we really need to add that section. So this will all be within the budget Mark is developing, this spring. He'll be sharing more information about that, next month. But this should be, bar any unusual surprises, our final staffing plan then for next school year.
Thank you, Dan. Next, our board reports. First is our Teaching, Learning, and Equity Committee. Elizabeth?
Hi, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Can we, sorry, I'm only on one screen, Lorraine, so can we skip down to policy and then I'll come back?
Absolutely.
Thanks.
Moving on to Policy Committee, Susan?
I'd be happy to do that. We met on Monday, February 26th from 8 to 9:30 a.m. We reviewed the following policies. We reviewed the really per board request, and I appreciate the questions that we got from the board on those policies. Criminal history record check and employee self-reporting requirements. The committee discussed questions relating to the policy in the teacher handbook alignment. And once we looked at that, we could see that they really didn't align. The committee requested a legal review, including some guidance on whether or not there was a need for this policy, since it was already covered in the handbook. And Dan provided input on that. And we plan to discuss this in greater length at the next policy meeting. Possible options are delete the policy and maintain the handbook, or align the policy and the handbook. So we have to do, is there any other thought from you,
Oh,
Dan?
you explained it really well.
Okay. And then, again, based on some board questions on this one, nursing mothers, basically what had happened is they had rescinded an old policy and rewritten a new one. But again, sometimes when we read these standard policies, and again, having other board members do that with us was really helpful. So the change in the policy was intended to include all staff members, which the previous language didn't, versus previous language which said support staff members. So you didn't have this policy guiding you on that. The committee also supported changing eligibility time from 1 year to unlimited, because your nursing of that child may not be limited to 1 year. And Dan is working on amending that and bringing it back to the committee, and we'll review it and bring it back to the board once it's ready to go. We also talked just a little bit, again, just so we could provide this information to anyone that had a question about it. We talked just a little bit about the policy on student representative and board meetings in the agenda, basically discussing access of board materials to the student representative. And Dan assured us that public information for board meetings would be accessible to the student representative. So if there's any question or you're not seeing it, then just call Dan and he'll make that available for you. We also talked about a wellness policy, and poor Dan and his staff have been working on this one for, feels like a year, but it's been quite a while. It is required by law. So Dan worked with the staff on the policy and is talking about bringing it back to the board at the April meeting, or bring it to the board for the first time at the April meeting. We've had it sitting on our agenda for a long time, but he had so many staff members that had to work and provide input on that. It's intended to support the Monona Grove School District Comprehensive Wellness Initiative. Any thought on that?
Oh, so we'll absolutely
lot of
get
work.
a revision to the board sometime this spring. A lot of work to do on it yet, but we're.
It is, and the timing right now with the amount of work that needs to be done by each and every board member, not only as a board and with the search pieces, but also with the committee work that's now escalating again. We will bring it to you as soon as we can kind of get that put together. We've also been talking about a policy for a school resource officer program. The committee agreed a policy would be helpful, so they basically support that. And so the committee and Dan will look at other sample policies and the Neola policy and see how that language comes together, and we'll bring it to the board and get your feedback.
Maureen.
Elizabeth, do you want me to go ahead and do the Education Foundation?
I think that
No,
would
I
be
can go
good.
back to Tilly. Sorry, I just want to pull my notes up.
Well, I think would
Eric
be
has a question.
good, since she's already talking, just let her continue with the next one as well.
Maureen, I have a question. I want to
question,
make a
I'm
comment
sorry.
about that. I just want to say thank you, Susan, for your assiduous engagement in addressing some of those concerns that we had before with the policy. So I really appreciate you taking the time to do that and look at those. So thank you.
Thank you very much. But again, I mean, we've had several policies that, even as a committee, and we have an excellent committee that really, I mean, you spend 10-plus hours just getting ready for the meeting sometimes, because we'll have 25 policies that we're trying to get through. But again, it's a really good committee. And then when you get a tough one, to be able to bring it to the board and get the input, it makes us, it's like finding the 5 lost pieces to the puzzle. It's really incredibly helpful. Okay, Monona Grove Education Foundation. They met on Tuesday. Dan just gave a quick report, updated them about the ad hoc committee to review the attendance boundaries, reminded them about the process of the superintendent search. Jason Carey Robbins and Mary O'Connor had attended focus groups. And we'll be receiving a report tonight about the applicants. And we'll be doing work all this Saturday on the applicants. So one of the things the foundation does is they have innovation grants. They had 5 submitted, 3 were accepted right away and approved by the board at this meeting. They're going to have a special piece of playground equipment to facilitate communication for developmentally disabled students. They're supporting MG21 building of, they need 15 electrical circuits, so they're actually going to build them. And again, if you go up to MG21, it's amazing the things they do up there. Electrical circuit boxes. And then they're going to redevelop the old garden beds at the schools. Those have become not so good. Then Jason did a financial statement. They're continuing to progress well. The fundraising is going very well. The community strongly supports the foundation and their allocation of funds. And they also recommended approval of 2 general grants from cash donations for summer scholarships and Play It Forward, which helps supply school with needs. They're updating the website. The weekend snack program they're preparing for a huge egg hunt. They're going to be presenting scholarships at the high school event. They said May 15th. That sounds a little early, but it's probably senior rec night.
I'm not sure.
I'm not sure either. And then they wanted to announce that they received an anonymous $10,000 donation for the middle school and high school bands, which is really great. Their next meeting will be April 9th at 4 p.m. And they'll be allocating more funds.
Thank you, Susan. All right, Elizabeth,
Yeah, thank you.
Teaching, Learning, and Equity Committee?
I wanted to be able to pull up my notes, and it's hard when you're on one screen. So the Teaching, Learning, and Equity Committee met. We had three, on February 28th, we had 3 items on the agenda. One was about an update on our social emotional learning curriculum pilot. One was on our middle school science pilot. So for those of you who are following our kind of regular policy review for TLE, you'll know that we are in the pilot phase of curriculum adoption for social emotional learning and middle school science, which means that we pilot usually 2 programs to kind of see what it feels like from a teaching and learning perspective, both from the staff perspective as well as the youth perspective, and then utilize that information to make a determination about what's the best fit. And then we also had a conversation about equity and curriculum. So in regards to social emotional learning, piloting 2 curriculums right now, SSIS CIP, which I think we can all agree is like the least roll off the tongue name that a curriculum could come up with, as well as Second Step. And so we'll be running those 2 and then making a determination there. And then for science, we are piloting a curriculum called Open SciEd, as well as Amplify Science. And if that name sounds familiar to you, it's because Amplify is the same group or company that makes our CKLE curriculum. And so it's piloting their science curriculum. So that is that. So those pilots will run kind of through the remainder of this month and into next month. And then those curriculum committees will take the feedback that they get from staff and from students and make some determinations. So once those determinations are made, we'll have another agenda item on TLE to see what was selected, and we'll talk through kind of that process. And then I will bring that info back to you all. And then the last thing that we talked about was equity in curriculum. I think some of us as board members have gotten some emails or some feedback from folks that we've been talking to in the community around how we are ensuring that our curriculum is equitable, that it is inclusive, that feels engaging. And so we wanted to be able to talk through some of these processes at TLE. And so Lisa did a really nice job talking us through kind of in broad strokes, how we select curriculum, right, to ensure that it's high quality and standards aligned, but also recognizing that no curriculum is perfect, right? And, a curriculum is created to meet a particular thing, and we are a unique community. And so sometimes that requires us to supplement out, particularly if staff are noticing that maybe some voices within a particular content are, more amplified than somebody else's. And so we do have our own instructional materials review tool that folks use. And then there's a lot of really great conversation that happens during the co-planning meetings. And so as, staff, especially with our new curriculums, as they're running into these wonderings or questions or moments of like, hey, I feel like this might be missing, they're able to talk about that with their colleagues and then come up with some supplemental materials there. So all in all, I feel like it was a great presentation. I feel really comfortable about how we're sort of continuing to have, that continuous improvement mindset around our curriculum materials and really trying to center the student experience as the main thing that we're focused on there. So that is TLE. Questions at all?
Krishna.
Firstly, thank you so much. I'm unsure of which screen to look at for you, but thank you so much for all of the work that you and the TLD do for our school. I really appreciate the fundamental perspective of approaching this from what works best for a student and then integrating that into our policy. Would you mind, just as a point of curiosity, going into further detail about the science education programs that you mentioned?
Yeah, actually, Krishna, I think if you're okay with it, I can share with Dan or Lorene, I'm not sure kind of where your normal correspondences come from. I'll share the links of to the websites of the 2 pilots that we're working on. And then you can just, really dig in.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'd greatly appreciate that.
No problem. It's fun. I really like to nerd out on the curriculum website. So I'm happy to have a partner in that conversation.
Yes, she does.
Did you say yeah, Peter?
Yeah.
Any other questions?
No other questions. Thank you, Elizabeth.
Great. Thanks, everybody.
All right. Next is the Student Board Representative Report. Krishna.
Thank you so much. So, to begin, the Asian Club, Black Student Union, and Latinos United met with the Winnequa Diversity Club to once again build relationships and conduct breakout sessions for icebreakers and Q&A. This is an echoing of a meeting they did earlier this year, I believe in January. So it's really empowering to see that they're continuing that progress and continuing to foster those ties. In addition, all the aforementioned clubs will also attend the musical Showway at the Overture Center and meet the cast afterwards on the 3rd of April. In addition, the Black Student Union will be participating in the first annual Dane County BSU Coalition meeting at Madison College. In the spirit of good news, the fishing club actually was engaging in picking up litter and performing community service during a fishing trip yesterday. I have to admit, personally, I wasn't so sure on this club, but now I'm hooked. In better news, I'm sorry, guys, I might have to resign because of that. In better news, I wanted to bring an update to this board regarding the solar array that many members of this board, including myself, were engaged with and now is a running initiative at my school. As of 10 a.m. this morning, the emissions curtailed by our high school array, just in this month alone, would equal 504 trees planted or reducing the use of 2,211 gallons of gasoline. That is a significant impact just this month alone produced by our own solar array. To date, the array has generated roughly around 649 megawatt hours of energy. The energy produced from our solar array goes straight into our pocket of savings as a result of the cash flow positive nature of the initiative. All related information can be found on the school website under Monona Grove Sustainability, and you can click the link titled Current Solar Savings Data for more. In addition, as Dan Olson mentioned earlier about all of our music clubs, there's actually a lot of good news on that front. Because yesterday, solo ensemble was held at the high school. Hundreds of students, including yours truly, performed in events for choir, orchestra, and bands and solos or groups. Countless students performed in multiple events, and several are heading to state next month. So congratulations to all of the students who performed last night, and thank you to those who helped support Monona Grove's artists. In addition, on a personal matter, I just wanted to bring forth an update regarding what we discussed last meeting. Although this isn't on the student report, I did have a meeting with the principal, Mr. McGrath, back in February regarding our grading policy. And in reference to a survey that we held at the end of last year regarding how students were engaging with the new grading policy and how they felt their academic improvement or not had been affected. The good news is that many students, in fact, the overwhelming majority, believe that the grading policy as it was so implemented as of last school year was actually beneficial to their studies and their overall academic performance. I will look forward to answering any questions about that or referencing Mr. McGrath's comments on the matter, but I'm very glad to see that overall things appear to be going pretty well at the high school and across our district. Thank you.
Thank you for that very interesting report and the humor, too.
I try my best. I'll be here all night.
Hey, Lorraine, can I ask Krishna a question real quick?
Absolutely.
Two things. One, thanks for following up on that discussion around Principal McGrath. I feel like it's really nice to know that you did that, and it sounds like it was a really great conversation. My question for you is, how did you do at Solo Ensemble?
Oh, yeah, pretty good. I know a lot of my friends are going to state, which is great. For me, my solo got a 1, which is like golf. It's a good score. And the brass ensemble that I performed in, I'm not entirely sure. But overall, I mean, a lot of my friends and I think the band in general did very well. So I'm glad to see that.
Congrats.
Thank you.
Sure. Yeah, so Lorraine just reminded me of something that I probably should have shared during my report or through a memo, so I'll give you a little bit of an update. So we had the opportunity to attend a meeting hosted by Sun Prairie School District. It was for all Dane County schools, the board presidents as well as the superintendents were invited to attend. And it's just an initial meeting to look at an idea of more of a collaboration between, the Dane County schools and really the relationship with the board and superintendents and the work that we're doing. How does that mesh with whether it be, political advocacy? How does it work with regard to, our strategic plans and our districts and what we're working on, towards, our student learning plans as well. So it was really well attended. I thought it was a really excellent, first meeting. And there definitely seemed to be a commitment in the room that this would be something that would be beneficial of moving forward with. So, initially they're thinking about meeting possibly quarterly. I'll be glad to email the board a lot more detail about what the agenda looked like, what some of the discussion points were, and something we'll keep you informed of moving forward. But I think there's a lot of energy in the room, and there's certainly a lot of things that, one of the things is try to find the common ground that we all have. Every district has a little bit, different needs and so on, but we certainly have some things in common as well. So appreciate the organization. It was, with Brad Sarin at Sun Prairie, Dana Minogue at Middleton Cross Plains. I think we're the two primary, people that spearhead. Oh, and Tremaine Clarity from Verona. Those are the three that did the initial, planning to pull us together.
Elizabeth, do you have a question?
Yeah, just a quick one, Dan, and I apologize if you said this and I missed it, but what was the attendance like?
Yeah, it was excellent. I think almost every school district was represented. I think only one or two did not, and most had both their superintendent and board president there.
Oh, that's great.
So, yeah.
Krishna?
Thank you. So I, of course, appreciate your comments. And it actually did bring up something that I'm interested to hear your opinion on. So in my personal life, I lead a nonprofit called Dane County Youth Environmental Committee. It's basically a youth-led high school organization where members from across the county are concerned about climate change and how such youth activism can impact our local communities. It's been an organization that I've led for years, and we've even hosted conferences across the county. And so with that, I wanted to ask you, especially from your standpoint as an administrator to many of these high schools and school districts in our county, what's your take, what's the pulse on the perspective of green energy or sustainability resolutions?
Great question. And so I think most of the work that I've seen, a lot of it's been driven by the county and not so much from the school districts. I think there's definitely a commitment from a number of districts, like ours, right? But to be honest, there hasn't been a lot of collaboration amongst school districts in the work. There's certainly been some sharing of the work that we've done, but nothing so organized. I think we all have kind of, like I said, worked, because there's such a strong commitment in the county. By that I mean county government. I think that's kind of the place that we have the common ground. So that's a great question, and it is kind of interesting that it hasn't been more of a topic, right, amongst school districts together.
Yeah, I'd agree. I mean, the comment I've heard a lot in our meetings is a very broad contrast between what we experience as students in our schools. Some schools, like fortunately Monona Grove, are very receptive to such ideals, where other schools flat out reject students. And of course, I know I'm biased to my own availability districts. I'm sure that several points could be made in topics in reference to issues such as LGBTQ rights or public transportation, mental health, et cetera, et cetera. But my point here that I'd like to ask you is, do you think there's any way we could integrate more student advocacy into those positions and decision-making factors? And is there any way that I personally or anyone in such a student representative role could assist and get involved?
I think I can think of a number of ways that can happen, and so that might be maybe a better follow-up conversation between the two of us with that. But I guess a really good example was the sustainability committee that we had, right? And we had strong student representation, with that group. And so I think that's a really good model and example of where student voice can really be hands-on and an integral part of planning and decision making. And so it's just a matter of kind of replicating that in other areas.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I just wanted to add on to what Dan was saying. What I really enjoyed about the meeting is that we were able to sit with other school districts and kind of really collaborate and deep dive in how we wanted to run this group. So we even came up with a title and what we wanted to focus on in equity. So they gave us a lot of hands-on experience so that we can work together as a group. So Susan, you had a question?
No, actually, it's just to thank you for doing this and for that support. I think, if we'd really been visionaries, we would have done this a long time ago. You can go to the WSB meetings, and it's wonderful to have that input for the whole state. I mean, that is a great meeting. You try and sit at different tables and have conversations and learn a lot from what the other districts are doing. And then you go to CISA, but again, but Dane County, no matter how different you are in sizes, you still have major similarities. And again, one of the threads, and I think Elizabeth will know we've talked about this a lot, is mental health resources. That's just an example. You could have a conversation just on that for a whole day. So to be forming that kind of group in Dane County so that you could meet and talk about things that particularly affect us, I think is absolutely great.
Great. We can move on to possible action items. The first one is the employment contracts for administrators.
I move approval of employment contracts for administrators as presented.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? Okay, move to roll call vote. Rochelle?
Aye.
Susan?
Aye.
Elizabeth?
Aye.
Philip?
Aye.
Eric?
Aye.
Peter?
Aye.
Lorraine? Aye. Ayes have it. Motion is carried. Next is the 2024-2025 capital projects budget.
Gary True, our Director of Buildings and Grounds, met with each of the principals and had a discussion with Dan and I as well about addressing some needs at each of the buildings, which we do usually every summer. And I provided the list for you and the estimated costs. As I said, McKinstry's going through a big review of all of our buildings and systems and things, and so we didn't want to kind of get in their way. So we just concentrated on things that we thought were the most critical at each of the buildings going forward, and also to provide us some flexibility if we want to add some projects in the summer, and also for budget consideration. So we would look for approval and start these once school is out in the summer.
Eric?
What's the timeline for the completion of these?
Before school starts.
Before school starts? Okay.
May I have a motion, please?
I move approval of the 24-25 capital projects budget as presented.
I second that.
Any further discussion? Okay, move to roll call vote. Rochelle?
Aye.
Susan? Elizabeth?
Aye.
Philip?
Aye.
Eric?
Aye.
Peter?
Aye.
Lorraine? Aye. Ayes have it. Motion is carried. Next is the resolution authorizing the issuance and sale of $2,400,000 note anticipation note series 2024 pursuant to section 67.12 1B Wisconsin statutes.
Again, working with McKinstry, they presented energy efficiency projects in December that the board, I guess it was January, the board approved. We had to do a petition period because we couldn't, because we're not going to referendum, and it's a state requirement if we're going to borrow during the year that we had to do that, and we didn't get any issues or anybody had any problems with it. So this is just the sale of the bonds to do the solar work at Granite Ridge, lighting at TP and Cottage Grove School. And PMA sold the bonds this morning, and we got an interest rate of about 3.3. So we're just the final approval for that, and then we can get the money beginning of April that will fund those projects.
Can I have a motion, please?
Move approval of the resolution authorizing the insurance and sale of $2,400,000 note anticipation notes, Series 2024, pursuant to Section 67.121B Wisconsin statutes as presented.
I second.
Any further discussion? Move to roll call vote. Rochelle?
Aye.
Susan?
Aye.
Elizabeth?
Aye.
Philip?
Aye.
Eric?
Aye.
Peter? Lorraine? Aye. Ayes have it, motion is carried. All right, moving to discussion items. Subject is Hazard Young and Associates District Leadership Profile Report. Yes, thank you. We have Mike Ritchie.
Looking for the light. Well, thank you. What I want to do tonight is present the leadership profile report. And this is just a common courtesy, I guess, if you will, that we do before we put this on our website. And we would ask the district to also put it on your website for full transparency. And I just want to highlight a few things. I believe you all have a copy of it in your board packet or so first of all, my disclaimer, I'm just a messenger. We did a lot of focus groups. I think we did about 20, 21 focus groups across your district over the past month and a half. You had a very good response to your survey. You had 678 responses, so that's actually pretty high. So a great job with that. What we focused on were 3 questions. And we talked about what are the strengths of the Monona Grove School District? What are the challenges that the district is faced with? And then what characteristics or what traits are you looking for in your next superintendent? And then you can see on page 2, we list all of the focus groups that were conducted. And then we have the description of the district on page 3. And again, a reminder for this report, the purpose of the report is it really helps the people that have applied for the job to really understand the makeup of the district. And it becomes a great roadmap or tool, if you will, to the candidate who gets the job to be able to read through this report. And the first thing they go to is the area of what are the concerns or what might need improvement or attention. So they want to really focus on that area as well. So on page 4, we talk about the desirable characteristics of the next superintendent. So when I read some of these were the common themes that we heard across the different focus groups. So looking for characteristics, the stakeholders are looking for someone that can foster some positive energy, that they really know and understand the 2 communities, Monona and Cottage Grove. They must have the ability to build relationships, a great communicator to all stakeholders. And then it is the expectation that the new superintendent will be visible in the schools and throughout the community as well. Then again, they talked about navigating the 2 different communities and the visibility of being in the school on a regular basis came up quite a bit. And then also, this person must be approachable. Again, a very common theme that was across the board. A strong visionary. And then as you look on page 5, it talks about some of those other traits. A good listener, inspires, motivates, places the students at the center of every decision, communicates on a regular basis, again, is visible, fosters that trust, collaborative working relationship, open, honest, dedicated, energetic, laser focused on student success, and is fiscally responsible and has the knowledge of school finance. And then effectively plans and manages the long-term strategies of the financial situation, exhibits integrity, and then again, this was a common theme, must develop relationships with all school district employees, and then is accountable and holds others accountable as well. And then we break down each of the sections. There's 4 sections, so the community and parents are kind of lumped together, and then the board's a separate section, followed by staff and then students. And so when we looked at those strengths across the board that were mentioned in the focus group, so I'm just going to go through a couple in each of the categories. So for the community, A very strong arts music program across the district, and the students have a wide variety of opportunities to be able to be engaged in. This was loud and clear. The staff is invested and dedicated to educating the students across the district. And then the other thing was that understanding of the charter school, that it's a great learning opportunity, and they wish that maybe it is a strength, but at the same time, it was mentioned that they want people to have an understanding of what that charter school is. So some of the challenges that were identified, how the schools are separated, or I think what they were talking about was a different grade structure was a little bit challenging to some of them. Transparency, they really want to make sure the district is transparent, and also that the teachers need a voice and need to be listened to, and also, again, navigating the Cottage Grove and Monona as two separate communities. So going on to page 7, when we talk about the school board, a strength of the district, again, location. This was loud and clear in many groups. The Madison-Dane County location, strong community support, supporting education across the district. The board, I like this one a lot. The board is easy to get along with as long as there's good communication and no surprises. So that's something we should probably highlight for the new superintendent to make sure that you're not surprised and the communication is free-flowing. And then strong extracurricular, co-curricular activities, again, opportunities, and the strong music was mentioned numerous times. Challenges mentioned by the board, again, navigating the two communities, need more diversity within the staff, and needs to be a welcoming staff, welcoming for staff of color, and also for students of color. Test scores have dropped a little bit since COVID. And another comment was, we're an average academic district and we should not be. So the comment was, we should be doing a little bit better academically than we're currently doing. So again, something to benchmark and keep an eye on. And then we go into the strengths identified by the staff. Again, passionate, supportive staff, facilities are in good shape, provides opportunities. The opportunities came up in every single group. Again, strong performing arts. And then the challenge is the growing student population, and then also the growing needs of the student. And that could be from mental health to student behavior to just a whole lot different today than years ago with students across the district. Having the two separate communities, transparency can be an issue. Wanted to make sure everything was very transparent and great communication. The staff also felt that onboarding in the buildings could be a little bit better, especially for those newer teachers when they first start their career in the district here. And then there's been some broken trust with some of the changes that came through with the handbook and some of the other things that were mentioned as far as the bargaining and negotiations as well. Students, my favorite group, and they did not let me down. We had a couple different great student groups. They were said the school, the district is very welcoming. Next comment, I never hear this, so you need to be commended. The students in both groups felt they have a voice. So when you hear students have a voice in the district, that is huge. So it wasn't just one person, it was the entire group agreeing to that. Great staff, dedicated teachers. Teachers want what's best for the students. They will also help students, not just in their subject area, but in other subject areas as well. Again, great co-curricular, great music, great arts. And then they also feel that the students felt that they connect with other schools across the district. And then we get to the challenges identified by the students. They wanted to see a better connection between the school and the community with student involvement. Perception or lack of understanding of what the students do at MG 21. Would like to see more diverse staff and more diverse curriculum at the high school level. And would also like to see the teachers post the syllabus at the beginning of the semester so students can plan better and be able to get organized throughout that whole semester. And then, again, they mentioned that the superintendent, they would like to see him or her in the buildings on a regular basis. And then, in conclusion, just a couple points here. The Monona Grove School District has a strong history of pride and support, caring staff, lots of student opportunities. The student achievement is an area where it can grow a little bit, but overall it's pretty good. Strengthening the culture, authentic leadership, and demonstrating transparency, improving communication across the district, and was important to the stakeholders. The new superintendent needs to be present, engaged, visible, visiting the schools. Online survey in the focus group, there was a correlation that probably, the communication piece and the school culture came up in both of the focus groups and the surveys. And then they're looking for that visionary leader, transparent communicator, and a relationship builder. So I'm not going to go through all those bullet points because those were just statements that were made by the people attending. But you will note on page 12, so if you read some of those and you don't agree with some of those, that might be the case. We did put a little disclaimer in there that the interviews and focus groups with the stakeholders generated the following responses. Careful attention has been made to the accurately conveying this message. The comments listed below emerge from statements made by stakeholders, and they are to be considered personal opinions of the individual making the comments regarding the Monona Grove School District. So I'm not saying we agree or disagree with them. I'm just saying that these were the opinions of the people that took the time to attend the focus groups. So with that said, I'm going to stop and ask if you have any questions.
Peter?
Thank you for this. Yeah, it's a pretty comprehensive report. I was most interested in, the leadership profile results down at the end here, which is, what is it that people think we should be looking for in a new superintendent? Because I could use that as a guidance. And I'm immediately struck by the fact that of the four sort of values, characteristics you have here, none of them cracked 40% across the board. I mean, community engagement had a few of the groups get above 40%, but it's like, right? Do you see that chart?
That one with the survey now, right? On
Yeah, the survey. It's no help to me because they don't want anything. These values.
They want everything.
Or they want everything. So
Right.
I was wondering if there's more insight you have related to that leadership profile. If there's something more the data tells you that I can use when it helps what people want when we're selecting a superintendent.
Yeah, all I can tell you is when they come up with those numbers, they answer about 13 to 15 different questions, and that's how it tabulates that result. And so we don't see the questions here that they're answering, we just see the results, and this is just the summary. So it's kind of, I guess, all over the board. But they do answer, they don't just make that number up. It's based on, I think it's 13 questions that they answer. Yep.
Like I went to that, what do people want for us to look for?
Well,
This unfortunately doesn't help all that much. I know, I've heard what you said.
it's a little bit of everything, and that's there's no 98% or 100%, so everyone is different, and everyone wants something different.
It does tell me that to people, there's not a sort of consensus that we have specific deficiencies. That's what it does.
Right, yep, that's accurate.
Elizabeth?
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, it's a great question, Peter, and I was curious about those graphs too, although I'm not sure that I agree that we don't have clear consensus on what folks are looking for. And I'm not surprised that depending on your point of view, right, your kind of seat in the House, that you may want or be focusing on different things. But I think that there's a lot to unpack here. The other thing I wanted to say is, well, one, thank you, kind of echoing what Peter said, but also this is probably, at least in my 4 years on the board now, this is the most robust amount of information that we've ever received around people kind of thoughts and feelings and hopes around the district. And so I feel like, just to kind of name for us as a board, as we kind of move into not just selecting the superintendent, but thinking about kind of how we're operationalizing not only that role, but some of the other pieces that need to happen. I think there's a lot of really good information here in terms of practices. So not just like, yes, let's hire a person that can, sort of do these things or whatever, but also just thinking through, like, how do we make some of these, particularly some of these pain points, goals for ourselves? And how do we continue to capitalize on the things that are strengths of ours? Like, so for example, the student voice piece, which I was so glad to hear, it's been a huge focus of our district. And folks have been doing a lot of hard work there. And it's nice to see that come out in the data. And so I'd like to see us as a board think about this profile beyond our superintendent search, and just kind of see how it turnkeys into, different types of governance and operational things as we move along. So that's all. Not really a question, more of a comment.
Susan?
I think the data that we've been provided is incredibly helpful. I think when you look at numbers of words, and I think Peter just alluded to one of those, and that was communication, engagement. And the other word that I saw probably at least 10 times, and maybe I quit counting after that, was trust. Again, being built on building relationships, and that came out from every single group on every single document you brought forward to us.
And I think one thing you have to remember, if there's a single event that is a current event that people are not happy with, that is going to trigger a word like trust. If they feel or felt something was not handled the correct way, and they're very upset about it. And I think there's a couple of different things that may have happened throughout the district that people have a difference of opinion regarding. And so they're going to say that the trust, the transparency, the communication, they were unaware, or it happened more of a top-down decision versus, across the board where they had a voice. So I think that's probably why.
Yeah, well, it's also interesting that the other time I hear the word trust is when someone has had a good experience and they've been able to build off of that. And you're right, you can have one incident that can't even be built off effectively a misunderstanding that dramatically affects that. But we saw it as a positive statement as well as a statement of a quality they were looking for in a new superintendent.
Krishna?
Firstly, thank you so much for all of the work that you and your organization has done to bring this forward to the board. I think that, quite frankly, you touch on so many points regarding to positive culture, communities, relationships, et cetera, that I wholeheartedly agree with as a student. And I believe that those are definitely the values that we see in our superintendent and many people in administration now. And I'm very glad we'll be encouraged for our continuing administrators to behold with our student population. And so with that, I wanted to ask you a question regarding how we can address some of the challenges you mentioned. On the bright side, I will begin with saying that there seems to be a lot of, if you will, capital in our school, and that we have a lot of youth voice, we have a lot of clubs, and as was noted by the other board members before me, a lot of trust. And I think those are all just invaluable fundamentals for us to have as a school district. And again, I'm so grateful that we have this survey to reference that. And so my question to you would be in regards to academic performance and a drop in scores, as well as also appealing to the challenges of a district that has rapidly grown in the past 10 years, be it through its sheer size or now its diversity. And again, as was discussed before, new needs, like such as mental health. How would you recommend, either from your data or your experience, that we address those between ourselves as administrators as well as for the superintendent specifically.
No, I'm just the messenger, remember? So, no, so this is, again, it becomes a great roadmap. So what the new superintendent will probably do, first of all, we actually go through this in detail with the person who gets this job. And so we point out a lot of things that, that we heard throughout these focus groups. And then they ask us the same question, is, do you have any advice for us? How should I tackle something? And it's pretty simple. You start working with the people across the district, not just the other administrators, but you start talking to the teachers, you start talking to the students, you talk to the curriculum people, the instructional people, you look at your data. It's not all about the test scores. It's about, what's happening across the curriculum. And so you start brainstorming with the various stakeholder groups and try to get to the bottom of it. The other thing on page 4 of the survey, where you have those dots, that's another thing that would be a good conversation piece for the new superintendent, because and this is common in almost every single survey that we do a search for. The administrators and the teachers, those dots are further to the right, which means they're holding the district a little bit higher standard than the students. And on your report, the students, they're the furthest group to the left. So the students don't think, how can I say this? The students don't have the same opinion of the teachers or administrators regarding the outcome of the strengths of rating the district. And next to the students, you'll see are the parents in the community. And so you want those dots closer together. So that's another good discussion to have some focus groups and to start digging into why those dots are a little, and that's very common. This is not anything, that's a very common layout of those dots for most districts. But the closer they are together, the same page, all those 6 different subgroups are on. So there's lots of ways to do it, and again, it'll be something that the new person is going to have to dissect and really make highlights and figure out what do you tackle first or what do you address first. So,
Yeah, thank you so much.
Great, there are no other questions. I just want to say thank you for the seamless process, the thorough report, and then allowing each stakeholder to be able to voice their opinions. So thank
Thank you.
you. All right, moving on to future meeting dates. They are listed in board docs, but our next meeting will be on March 16th, and that will be our first round of interviews for our candidate pool.
What time do we start that?
I think we're going to, do we know the time yet, or we're going to figure that out in closed session?
Yes.
Okay.
All right. I think that is it. So then we do adjournment.
No,
Yeah, so,
Okay, I move we reconvene in closed session pursuant to Wisconsin statute sections 1985, paren 1 and C, and 1985, 1 and F, for consideration of the superintendent candidate slate by Hazard Young, Ati and Associates.
second.
All those in favor?
Aye. We have to do roll call.
All right, roll call vote. Rochelle.
Aye.
Susan. Aye. Elizabeth.
Aye.
Philip.
Aye.
Eric.
Aye.
Peter.
Aye.
Lorraine. Aye. Ayes have it. Motion is carried.
Normally, I'm all in favor of doing it without the roll call, but that's the one legal one where we have to.
Back and stuff.
Major league champ.
Wade, you
Back.
try not to, but yeah.
Yeah, it's gotta be, of
course.
even though you know it's part of the process that.
Hey, Dan.
Yeah, no, but, yeah, it's natural that, right,